Hello and welcome to another edition of Keith's World of Entertainment. And I'm overjoyed today because I have a very important gentleman with me who I'm honoured to call a friend, Mr. Noel Rees. And he has been director of the Ffwrnes Theatre in Llanelli for several years, many years. But this year and next week, the 15th to the 18th of May, Ring Around the Moon is at the Stiwdio Theatre of the Ffwrnes Theatre in Llanelli. So welcome, Noel. Welcome back to Keith's World of Entertainment. And how's it all going for next week?
Well, and it's going, we hope, quite well. We're ready to move into the theatre now. We're in the studio, which we've performed in before. This time, though, the audience is going to be on two sides. So if you think of it as a sandwich, the actors are in the filling, and the audience is,
I believe, the word Travis Theatre. That's right. That makes it interesting from the start, doesn't it?
That's it. It's interesting for us.
Yes, great. But the choice of Ring Around the Moon.
Well, it's a very old play. It came out, it's a French play by Jean Anouilh, who did loads of important plays in France, which got translated in this country. Came out in 1947. And it's quite a charming play. It's a fairy story. It's a little bit zany. When Christopher Fry, the poet, had to adapt it, they didn't know what to call it because he said, you can't call it a comedy, you can't call it a drama. So they've called it a charade with music. And it's very light-hearted. There's a lot of music written for it. So there's no singing as such, but there's a lot of music as a sub-score which accompanies the action.
I'm told it has the buoyancy of a musical. Exactly. You know, it would lend itself very easily to a musical. But your cast now, I'm always impressed by who you get together. And of course, many of them have worked with you for many years.
That's it. Well, we've got a new member, Alison Saunders. She's making her debut with us. I'm sure you know her.
Yes, very much as Swan TV.
So the others are well seasoned, like pieces of wood. I hope they don't act like pieces of wood, but they're well seasoned. They've been in lots of shows. And the interesting thing about this is that one young man plays two parts because the main character is twins.
Oh my goodness, that's always interesting. And things like One for the Pot is coming to mind now, as well as The Boys from Syracuse. And there's about twins, but it's always hard on the actor playing two roles. And I love the story you gave me about a few days ago when you were putting up the photographs outside the theatre who was in it.
And I was one short. And I couldn't work out who was what short on the display board. Then I realised, of course, I was looking for 12 photographs, but I only needed 11.
Of course. I love that. I love that. But yes, it's frothy, if I'm...
It's very light. Basically, it's about dancing, and the main lead, the lady, is a young ballerina, and we keep it very light. It's quite satirical in parts because he wrote it just after the war when France was having a battering, or had just come out of a battering. And it's all about a ball taking place in a chateau. The original French title is L'invitation au château, invitation to the castle. And so Ring Round the Moon, people have asked me in the cast, well, why is it called Ring Round the Moon? But sometimes, like Twelfth Night, when things go wrong, it's a zany time when anything can happen. And it's a lovely fairy story. It's full of comedy. You will recognise lots of characters in it. We have sort of Lady Bracknell characters who's confined to a wheelchair. Liz Bevan is playing
that she'll be superb.
And she's got wonderful lines to say, to deliver. And she brings about the story of how she brings all the people together. They're mismatched people, but in the end, she's like the fairy godmother, and she sorts it all out.
But it's a costume drama, isn't it?
Yeah, we're doing it in the 50s.
Ah, right.
And somebody once said, because it takes place in a ball, that it's worth the money just to see the dresses. So it's like a fashion show as well. So it's
that's
all that
wonderful.
Period, 1952, we're setting it in.
That sounds just terrific. But with Ffwrnes Theatre and with your name, some people in Llanelli and friends will often say, what's Noel's next play? Or if they wouldn't necessarily want to know what the title was. If they knew that there was a Noel Rees play on in Llanelli, they would turn up in droves. You know,
I hope so.
your name goes before you. But I realised that Ffwrnes is extremely well established, you know.
It's
So
53 years now.
53 years,
Yeah.
my goodness, you know.
So
So
we played it. We started off in the parish church,
yes,
which is quite nice because we've had a restoration project there. And in July, we're going back to the parish church to do an entertainment to raise funds for them. Oh. So that's called Not in the Book.
oh my goodness.
It's a quick trip through the Bible, but it is very light-hearted. So we've still got our links, and from the parish church, we went to the parish hall, then we went to Theatre Ffwrnes, which closed, as you know, and then we went to a Ffwrnes, and we're now in the studio of the Ffwrnes. Main productions are in the main house, and in October, we'll be back in the main house.
So what are the standouts from the last, I can't believe, 52 years, you know. I wouldn't have thought that you were of that age. But please tell us the standouts.
Oh, well, we've done all the classics. We like to look at authors, Oscar Wilde, we've done Shadowlands, Man for All Seasons. We've done some very big shows. And then, of course, you have to balance your programmes with your, what I call the farces, the Ray Cooney farces. And, of course, the last time I spoke to you here, we were doing an Agatha Christie.
Of course.
And people love Agatha Christie, and it was the only one at present that's... No, I must be corrected. But when we did it, it was the only one with Miss Marple in. Now another show has become available called The Mirror Cracked, which has also got Miss Marple in.
It must be quite a full-time job trying to think, well, what's to do next? And then once you decide, getting everything together, you know, because as well as directing the plays, you're often the person who would be called a producer, getting all the set together, getting the costumes, the props, you know. So what's the journey like for you with that?
Well, the hardest thing, I think, of all is choosing the play.
Right.
And then you cast it, and from then you do all the extra things that go into it, as you say, the props and the scenery. It's all been done. It's ready to move in on Sunday, and we build it all on Sunday. We have a rehearsal on Sunday, technical on Monday, dress rehearsal on Tuesday. Then we're opening next Wednesday, which I think is the 15th.
And as the 15th, we'll be saying the details at the end again, but how can everyone get tickets?
Well, usually you can either do it online, theatrecigar.co.uk, or on their phone number. I got to look down for this one. So it's 0345 226 3510.
Thank you. But I'm interested in Noel Rees as well, and how you became so involved and so interested in theatre. Was it something that your family had introduced to you?
Well, not really. My mother was more interested in the theatre than my father.
Right.
But my father was an electrician. So when I initially started off, I was doing stage lighting and things like that. So I had his sort of gene in the technical aspects of things.
It's an interesting introduction. Yeah. So some more of the story?
Well, then I went to Llanelli Boys Grammar School, and one day I was passing the head's room, and Mr. Stanley said, "Noel, come in a minute, I want to talk to you." And I thought, goodness, what have I done? Because I was pretty well behaved in school. He said, "Sit down there now," he said. Now, he said, "Last night, Connie and I were discussing you," that was his wife, "at supper.
Yes.
And we think you'll make a good drama teacher." Well, I'd never thought of anything like that. And I said, "Well, why do you say that, Mr. Rees?" You know, well, and so he went through his... Well, I said, not a bad idea, because I was in the sixth form and I didn't have any career in mind. He said, "Now, I want you to go to a special arts place in London." And he said, "Can I ring them up now?" And I was taken aback by this, but he did it on the spot.
Wow.
And he got through to it, and I could hear all these clicks on the old exchange in the school, and eventually we got through to the principal. And all along the line...
which school was
this? Was Trent Park in London, part of the University of London, which specialised in drama, music and art in those days.
Yes.
It was a teacher training college. And we had all these clicks, and eventually he would say, "It's Stan Rees, Llanelli Boys Grammar School, Stan Rees, Llanelli Boys Grammar School," as it was going through. So eventually he got through to the secretary, the principal secretary, and he said, "This is Stan Rees, Llanelli Boys Grammar School, please may I speak to the principal?" And said, "Certainly." So click, click, click. And then the next thing was, "Hello," from the other end, and Mr. Rees said, "Tommy, is that you?" And of course he knew him.
Wow.
And of course I had an interview the next week. And that was it. And that was 40 years of teaching drama.
Of course, and you were at the same establishment or same building, but with two different hats on over the years. You kept going back to, it was now called Coleg Cigar, isn't it?
Coleg Cigar at the end. So yes. I was there when it was the Boys Grammar School. I taught in the boys' grammar school, which in turn became the Graig Comprehensive School, so I was there as well, and that in turn became, first of all, CCTA, Carmarthenshire College of Technology and Art, which eventually was renamed as Coleg Cigar.
Well, they sort of built the colleges around you. The
Well, I was
names
always there,
changed.
they couldn't get rid of me.
Well, that's great, though, isn't it? You know, but coming back to Ring Around the Moon, and you were saying about the costume drama, it's funny. It's a very light-hearted and something. I believe that's something that we need at this time. I've seen some heavier pieces recently, and I think, well, yes, I appreciate the wonderful work, but I think we actually need the light-hearted. We need the comedy, and there's a very interesting story regarding Stephen Sondheim wanted to get his hands on Ring Around the Moon to make a musical, you know, and the rights holders refused him, and he looked elsewhere, found something called Smiles of a Summer Night,
Bergman's
and
film?
the Bergman film, yes, Ingmar Bergman, and so he then entitled his show A Little Night Music, which contained Send in the Clowns. And of course, it was a huge hit. So the right holders of Ring Around the Moon went back to Stephen Sondheim and said, oh, yes, we are ready now. Yes, we'd very much like you. And he said, no, thank you. Thank you, but no thank you. Because he'd done what he wanted to do. But I'm chomping the bit to see Ring Around the Moon, because although I've seen so many and thrilled and honoured to have seen so much theatre, I've never seen Ring Around the Moon. So what would you say, to put it into a nutshell, to somebody who doesn't know the piece, so is reluctant to go back to the theatre possibly after years of COVID or whatever, what would you say in a nutshell to come to see this?
I think it's a delightful night out. It's got some serious moments when we're talking about love affairs and things, and mismatched love affairs, how you can be ruined by money. Some people in it are ruined by money, and they lose their money, and then all of a sudden they find they're happy because they haven't got any money. It's got comedy, it's got lovely music. All the music is specially composed for it. And it's very light-hearted, lovely jokes, visually, hopefully, spectacular.
Oh, it will be, I know that. And because when I've been doing some sort of reading, some are saying that it's a bit like a Cinderella story or a bit like a My Fair Lady, you know.
That's it, because the twin, the boy who plays the twins, he's moulding this ballerina who comes in. He hires her to distract somebody else in the invitation ball. And it's very much the Pygmalion story.
There we are.
He moulds her.
And what with the aunt, very much like A Little Night Music with Madame Armfeld. And she's sort of got her fingers in the pie.
She's manipulating everybody.
Yes. So the dates again are the
Wednesday to Saturday. We're doing a Saturday matinee as well. So it's going to be May the 15th to the 18th at the Stiwdio Theatre, Studio Stepni in Ffwrnes, Llanelli.
Right, and how to get tickets again, if you could just
tickets
say
again,
that.
Right, so it's going to be either online, theatrecigar.co.uk, or 0345 226 3510. That's their telephone line.
And I feel I want to say, you know, who are the collaborators with you getting this on? But in many ways, when people say Phoenix Theatre, I think that so many of these hats you wear yourself, or are there others?
No, it's teamwork.
It's teamwork with, and who would you
ready.
like to mention?
That is too dangerous.
Oh, that's
too dangerous.
So you just want to thank everyone.
The whole team, yes.
And I want to thank everyone at Phoenix Theatre, and you won't regret going to see Ring Around the Moon next week. I want to thank Noel Rees for being our guest today, and thank you also for bringing such wonderful entertainment to the Swansea and particularly Llanelli area. Thank you,
Lovely.
Noel.
Thank you, Keith. Nice
Thank
seeing
you
you
very
again.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Keep watching Swan TV.